Hello and welcome, Stand Up World 38. We have a good show for you. We got a great guest. The very, very talented Erica Rhodes is our guest today. We got a lot of good stuff to talk about. The Mitch McConnell blow-up dolls that we're selling. Patrick, we've sold a lot of them so far, haven't we?
They're selling like hotcakes.
Actually, they're wake-up alarm clocks. When you fall asleep, it's just Mitch McConnell goes, what? And that's, by the way, that's Patrick Arnold, a producer extraordinaire. Mitch McConnell basically just went out of it at the podium, and they walked him away. Did you see that, Patrick? They walked him
like a zombie,
like a bear cub at the zoo that they had to take back to the cage. And then I realized, no, he's just doing a Joe Biden impression. That's all. And then the president fell asleep in Maui last week, and I thought, he's just doing a Dianne Feinstein impression. Everyone there is just doing an impression. Trump is doing Alec Baldwin, who's doing Trump. And Vivek Ramaswamy, he's doing that Apu character from The Simpsons that Hank Azaria can't do anymore. Since everyone's just doing an impression. But God bless them all. I was thinking, we got these people are too old to be running the country. But then I was on YouTube looking at some of the young people they interviewed, and I go, oh, you know what? Some of these young people are so stupid. They interview them. I saw this one guy says, who won the Civil War? They asked him. He said,
Civil War?
Yeah.
It was us against the Soviets.
Around how many people would you say live on Earth?
On Earth?
Yeah.
8 million.
Million or billion?
8 million.
Yes. Do you know when the War of 1812 was? Like, was it a while ago or like recently?
Like, let's see, that's World War II.
Yeah, give me a year. The War of 1812.
Oh.
You heard of that one?
Yeah, that's like the 1980s.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Am I wrong?
fine. Just let's let these old dinosaurs run the planet until we get hit by the next meteor, and then we got to reset the whole thing anyway. But I digress. You're a fan of Erica Rhodes, is right?
Oh, she's the best. Yeah, we've had her at a few of our clubs and seen her in Montreal. She's hysterical.
Which clubs has she played?
She's been at Off Cabbage. She's coming back again this fall. I want to say she's done laugh, but I don't know. But yeah, she's hysterical.
Yeah, she's great. She's a great joke writer. She's got a new album coming out in October that she was going to talk about. And
I believe she was on the taping for The Stand. The Stand did some tapings in Montreal, and she taped like a 10-minute set. So that'll
is that right?
Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I think she's fantastic. So let's get her going. Erica Rhodes.
Mike.
How are you, Erica? Thank you so much for doing this.
Thanks for having me.
You know what a big fan I am of yours.
Yeah, I don't know if we've even met, actually.
No, we've never met. We've never met. And Patrick just asked me if we play any of the clubs in LA. Do you live in LA?
Yeah, I'm always in LA.
Oh, really? And
yeah.
What clubs do you play?
Well, I play all of them, but I'm on the road a lot, so it goes in phases. So I'm at the store sometimes. I'm at the Improv sometimes. I do a lot of like alti type shows too.
Yeah. Well, I haven't run into you in LA, and I actually, one of the first things I ever saw of yours, which I thought was so good, was this little kind of series, I guess, you put together, which was of you, like the trials and tribulations of auditioning and dealing with people in the industry. And I thought it was so smart and just so, and I think I told you this, or I wrote about this in one of my blog pieces. You reminded me of kind of like a young Susan St. James, who for those of probably younger people don't know, there was a show called Macmillan and Wife, and she was so good in it. And you kind of remind me, have that vibe, She was really a good
I don't know if I don't know if I know her actually.
She was great, and I have a feeling. I think Rock Hudson was McMillan.
Oh wow.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah, I think he was, and he was a detective. And someone like Rock Hudson or some big movie star. And
Yeah, I mean, it sounds familiar. I'm sure I've like seen bits
she was
from it, but
she was
yeah.
really good. She was
I
really
like being compared to an older time person because I feel like I was born in the wrong time period.
good. Yeah, how's that?
I don't know. I don't really feel like I fit in to modern life.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I think I would have been a really good slave owner. You know,
I know that's where you get into trouble. That's where you can't be like, I was born in the wrong time.
yeah, I would have been really good at just owning people. But now when everything's fair and everything's equal, I'm no
I
good.
know I'm not good at cooking either. So I would not have made a good 50s housewife. So I
Yeah.
probably am born in the right era, but it's more like the technology that drives me crazy, that stuff.
Yep. Yep. And what part of LA do you live in?
I just moved towards the east side.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I don't want to tell people exactly where I live.
Oh, can you you don't have to be exact. Just give us the address and the apartment number. Man, isn't that weird, Patrick, when people come on and they don't want to just get really personal?
No, just
No,
wanted to
it's
pee
funny you say that because I was watching this really great show on Netflix right now called Quarterback,
Uh-huh.
and Cousins. What's the
Kirk
Vikings quarterback? What's Kirk Cousins?
Yep.
He's like showing his house and his kids' faces and their and the front of the house and he doesn't live in a big city. And I was telling my wife, I was saying, man, I don't know what he's doing. Why would I get showing your life behind the scenes, but
Yeah.
you adore your house and your street and your wife and what your kids look like. In today's world, all these crazy people, I wouldn't want anyone to know where the hell I lived.
Yeah, Bill Burr's security guy, Kenny, told me don't ever post where you are,
Yeah, and he knows. I know
But
Kenny.
I think I do. Oh, you know him?
I know him well. I know he's the best.
Kenny.
He's
the
old
best.
time, man. He's old school. He was Andrew Dice Clay's
He's the
security
real
guy
deal.
for years.
Yeah, he's the real deal.
He is. He's a character, man. He
Yeah.
is a character, but he's an old cop. Did you know that?
Yeah, I did know that. Yeah.
Yeah. We call him Club Soda. People call him
Yeah.
Club Soda.
Yeah.
Club Soda Kenny, man. But listen,
Why he's a funny guy.
he's a really funny guy.
Yeah.
He's
But yeah,
really funny.
don't ever like take a photo inside your hotel, things like that.
Some people push it. I had a restaurant for a while on Sunset Boulevard, and Bob Saget came to my restaurant,
Oh.
and it was fun. He was one of my best friends, and he
Aw.
came. It was a hot dog joint right next to the Whiskey A Go Go, and we're
Oh.
sitting there. He comes and he goes, "Hey, I'm gonna post that I'm here." He takes a picture in front of the logo of the place. Because I have like 1.5 million followers. This is gonna be good for you. And I said, "Oh, post it." He goes, "Oh, I have to post it once I leave. I can't do it while I'm here." And
Right.
I said, "Bob, do you think people are gonna just like run out of the house because you're here? What do you think's gonna happen? 1.5 million people? What's the problem? What's the worst case scenario?"
Probably one weirdo will show up.
Yeah, we'll give him a hot dog. And
Yeah.
no, he goes, "I gotta wait till I'm all in the car, all the way out of here, and then I'll push send." I said, "Okay, Bob, whatever you
Where
want."
do you live? So you live in LA?
I'm not telling you. I live in Santa Monica.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Yes. I live in Santa Monica. I've lived in the same place, the same general area for about 35 years.
Nice. I used to live near there, but not anymore.
Yeah. No, and I like it, and you know, I for like the last year or so, I've been back doing stand up again, and I play in all the clubs, and you know, so I'm around, I'm having fun.
That's
But
cool. Did you
yeah.
take a break from it and then get back into it?
28 years.
Whoa. Well, you
Yeah,
took a 28-year break?
yeah. I was in prison.
What?
I was in prison, and no, I did. You know, I did it. I did it every night of my life from the time I was 27 to about 25, 26 years old, maybe 28, something like that. You know, every night. You know, I did the Tonight Show and everything.
But then how long was your break for real?
28 years.
Really?
Yeah, yeah. I really,
What did
I,
you-
w-
what did
I
you
went up.
do?
I went up one time, maybe one time. I did a benefit. My friend Charlie Hill. We all did a benefit for him, and and then I didn't do anything for years.
Were you working a different job?
I would say yeah. I was I was you know doing television and movies and
Oh,
acting and directing
yeah.
films and you know and writing films and
You were out of the business. I thought you were like, I
No.
took a 28-year break from the business. And I was like,
no. I just
I thought you've done stuff.
no. No. I
I was
just
like,
said,
I think he's messing with me, but I'm like,
no, I was still in the business. I just wasn't doing stand-up because
yeah.
it got to the point where I only had so much broadband and I was raising kids and married and you know, I just
Oh, you had a life, you mean?
yeah, I kind of had a life. I would if you call it that. But and I just you know, I started so young as a stand-up. How old were you when you started?
29.
You were 29? Wow.
Yeah.
Now, what did you start on Garrison Keillor's show?
Yeah, I started acting when I was 10 on that.
How did that happen? How did that come about?
It's a long story, but my mom was in Pro Arte Chamber Orchestra Boston. She was a founder of the orchestra. She's a violinist, and she introduced Garrison to my aunt. She was like, "You would get along with my aunt." And they started dating, and then they came and saw me in the Nutcracker, and then we all went out to dinner, and he heard me speak and was like, "What's that voice?" And then the next day he had me on the show, and then I was on the show ever since.
Well,
Then they got married.
The show wasn't in Boston. What? It was in Minneapolis.
It was all over the country. He performed it everywhere.
Oh, I always thought it was just in Minnesota.
No, he did it at the Hollywood Bowl. He did it at Town Hall. He did it at Tanglewood, Red Rocks, like all over.
Wow, I didn't know that. And the clips that I saw of you doing it, you were really good. You were so talented and so had such a good energy with him.
Yeah, we always had a funny dynamic, you know, like my first role was playing his conscience. So I was like, you need to call your mother and you need to read Moby Dick. And, you know, I was telling him what to do. So it was a good dynamic.
Yeah, no, listen, I it's so funny when I watch you and see you, I just feel like there's so many places you work, you know, as an actress, as a comedian, you know, or maybe like on Saturday Night Live. The other thing that's funny about you, Erica, is, like I said, I haven't seen you around the clubs, but I know so many of these young comedians, friends of mine, they all have a crush on you. All these guys talk about you. So many comedians or writers. I have this friend of mine, one of the guys, he's a great guy, he's a Friends writer. All he wants to talk about is you. Whenever he comes and sees me at the comedy store, he always goes, "Oh, I wish Erica Rhodes was here tonight."
Who is this?
His name is Adam. He's a really great writer too. But he's so funny.
Do I know him or not?
No, he's never met you. He's just crazy. I know more comedians that are just like all crazy about you. So it's I guess
I
it's
didn't know this. This is news to me.
Well, I mean, you've got to travel with a lot of these guys, right?
I mean, not really. I mean, I've opened for a bunch of people, but yeah,
Well, I remember when I was a kid.
comics, but I'm
When
not.
I was a kid, we were all crazy about Elaine Boozler. I used to have the biggest crush on Elaine Boozler, and
She's like my opposite. She's like super like brassy and tough, right?
she was, yeah, but she just was great. She was so great, and
Yeah.
man, and I was so much younger than her. They just saw me as a little kid, you know. But I could hardly hold a conversation with her. You know, she just was so beautiful to me and so great and powerful, you know.
Yeah.
I mean, like she was going with Robin Williams at one time, and then another time she was going with Andy Kaufman, and then and she was going with every great comedian, and she just was, and she was like better than anybody too. She could just kill any crowd, you know.
Does she still do stand up?
Yeah, I'm sure she must.
Yeah.
Yeah. I haven't seen her in years. I really tried to get her in the comedies. Did you ever see the Comedy Store documentary?
Is that the one you made?
Yeah, you didn't have to, but I'm just saying.
But I feel like I did see it, but now I'm not sure because I get confused with the book I read.
Well, we're going to show it to you now. We're going to actually, the interview is going to go a little bit longer than we planned.
I need to watch it. I feel like I've seen parts of it, but maybe never sat down and watched the whole thing.
But basically, she's the only person that I really wanted to get that I couldn't get.
Why couldn't you get her?
Yeah, it's a long story, but my mom, my aunt dated her. No, I'm kidding. It's doing the Kirsten Keeler story. It's you know, she just had, you know, there was a big strike and she was on a different side. And I don't think she ever really ended up having a good feeling about the Comedy Store. And, you know, and I just, I don't know. I would have loved to have her. You know, everyone came back. David Letterman, you know, Richard Lewis, you know, Jim Carrey, and Meryl Marco, you know, I would have so loved to have her come back and walk the halls with me, but she just didn't want to, you know. She just was not a memory or a time in her life. She wanted
Some people don't want to go back to the past, you know. They just don't. I'm sure there's a lot of dark stuff that happened back then too. You know, I mean, there was a lot. People were partiers back then in a different way, and I think, you know,
especially that place.
More trauma as women back then.
Yep, you were exactly right.
Yeah,
especially that place.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, I mean, there's a darkness there too, which I think has been lifted a bit, but I'm sure that, you know, there are things that probably happen that we don't even know about.
Well, I know about them.
You think you know about it.
But oh man, it was a crazy time. I came out there right after high school, and I was a doorman, and I was there at the right time, man. It was nuts. It was nuts. And the truth is, I never wanted to deal with or look back at it. You know, I remember Mark Maron would say to me about going on his podcast, we'll talk about the Comedy Store. I said, I don't want to talk about the Comedy Store. That's too far in the past. And then when I finally went on his podcast, that's all we talked about. And it was so nice, you know?
Yeah. So were you in his class or?
No, I was maybe a class ahead or two ahead of him.
Okay.
You know? Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I didn't really know I was gone by the time he was there, but he was a doorman and I was a doorman, but like he was, I think maybe 5 years after I was gone, he started coming around, which in that time is a long time, you know?
Yeah.
And we all lived in a house at the time. The owner had a house above the Comedy Store.
Yeah, who owns that? We were just wondering who lives there now, because it's like
Well-
right overlooking the store.
Well, there were two of them. One Pauly Shore owns now, and
Okay.
the one where we all lived, she sold to some guy, and I guess he sold it and fixed it up, and just someone lives there. So what's your main thrust? I'm always curious to ask you, like, because I by the way, you know what I loved is your Sad Lemon, the way what you did with
Yeah,
it.
thanks for your review. That was a very nice write-up that you gave it.
I thought it was great. And I've turned a lot of my friends on to it, and they always love it too. And what basically, if you're listening to this and you want to watch, it's on YouTube, and it was basically your album, but someone just put up a camera and filmed it.
Yeah, I
And
loved how you described it. You're like, it's not quite as special. You're
Yeah,
like,
but it's
And
a really good example of sometimes you don't have to overthink these things, you know?
yeah.
It's really about, if you were just sitting in a chair in the audience, you'd have that same view for the whole 50 minutes.
Right. Yeah. It was funny when people complained about the talking. They were like, this is really great, but sometimes there's talking or whatever. And I'm like, this isn't a special, like it's just a camera that's set up in the middle of the audience. And people are like, well, there was some talking in the audience. And I'm like, because people were talking.
You go to a club,
There's
listen,
some
I find what's more takes me out is too much cutting or too many camera angles.
Yeah, same actually. I've noticed that a lot. I don't like too much cutting in a special.
And
I like one shot. If you can do one shot, why not?
Well, it doesn't have to be one shot, but just there's got to be a reason why you're cutting. And the thing that I hate is you're on the stage and then all of a sudden you cut to the audience. It's just like, wait a minute, I was the audience, and now we're looking at the audience.
Right? Yeah, yeah.
But-
they've become a little too fancy sometimes.
Yeah. And
what's funny is I almost didn't put it up. I was like, because I am a perfectionist, and so I was like, why would I put that up? It's just one shot, and the album's been out too long. Why would I now put out the video? And then I was like, get over it. Just put it up. Maybe people will like it. And I thought it would get like a couple hundred views, like the
it's done really well. It's done really well.
Pretty well, yeah. I mean, not well compared to the, Sam Morril or whatever, but it's still doing okay.
But I listen, and then there's like this other special that Shane Gillis did in Austin, which is so just a threadbare special, 2 or 3 cameras and a little club, and it's great. So it really, you don't have to overproduce these things.
I know. I debated because I filmed my second album that's coming out in October, but I don't think I'm going to release a video, at least not right away, because I think I want to, in that case, make it look a little bit more polished, but I am debating about it.
How'd you film it?
Well, Jeremy, who produced it, had 3 cameras, but we just didn't have any lighting or anything. And it's at Acme, and it's just a very basic, red curtain, which I just feel like there's nothing that stands out in that background. It's just red, and I don't really pop in it. And I'm wearing like my green jumper that's not that flattering. And I don't know. I just feel like I can maybe make it look a little better.
Yeah.
I don't know. Maybe I'll release the album first, like what I did with Sad Lemon, and then if I can't get the money to produce a special, then just put it out. But I don't know. Kind of want to get it.
What's the name of the album?
Ladybug.
Ladybug. It's great.
Ladybug.
And what do you, when you say produce an album, release an album, who's going to release it? Was there a company doing it?
Yeah, so Jeremy has a company. He was with Helium, and now he started his own label called Rhizome. And so he's just producing on his own now. So yeah, so it's just like, normal album, like an hour long.
It's an hour. That's great.
Yeah, a little
We were-
less,
We were
55.
just talking earlier. I think to me, I really don't really understand doing an hour anymore. It just, but I guess an album you have to do that long, huh?
Yeah, I mean, it's a body of work, so you kind of want it to stand together, and it's not like you write it as a cohesive body of work. You don't write it like as clip. Like I don't know. I feel like thinking in terms of clips is just a marketing tactic. It's not how you think about making art.
Yeah, no, I get that, but I just feel like like to me, it feels like I was thinking more like 40 minutes, 30 minutes.
Oh
45
yeah, I
minutes.
mean, yeah, you could do that. You could do a special that's like 30 minutes, but it still has like a story or something that ties it
Right.
all together. Because otherwise, you're just thinking. I mean, unless you write one-liners or just jokes that have nothing to do with each other, usually you're stringing it together into some kind of art.
Right. Oh yeah, that's great. And
That's what
and do you,
Trying
and
to
do
think.
you find yourself like when you put something like that out, and I by the way, I think that's really great to do that and think like that. Do you need to move on from it afterwards, or do you keep doing
Yeah,
it?
that's my problem. Is like I'm ready to move on, but of course you have to write it.
Yes.
So like, right, you kind of start with like pieces of it. You're like, okay, I'm like psychologically I've moved on, but I still have to work, and I can't
Right.
just get up at the Punchline. I was at Punchline Sacramento this weekend. I can't just get up for 5 shows and be like, I'm going to write my new hour now.
Right.
Plus they haven't heard my album yet. It's not out
Right.
yet. So I'm pretty much still doing my album, but then there's like, I'm trying to write like 5-minute new bits at a time.
I see. I
Yeah.
see.
But yeah, psychologically, I feel like ready to move on.
Did you get into this to do something else, or like if like say you were doing a show and it hit and you were working as an actress, would you just stop doing stand-up?
I don't think I'll ever stop doing stand-up. I just like the process too much, like it feels like a really creative space, and the immediacy of feedback you can't replicate like in any other art form. So I think I'll always want to do I think I'll always crave that immediacy of like a live audience and that connection of a live audience. But I'm open to doing other things, and the road is hard, like I'm not gonna lie. That lifestyle is hard. And I see like years just kind of going like fast from being on the road. I'm like, where did the past 5 years go?
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah,
That's
it's
right.
hard.
But although I will say, I do have regret. I wish I didn't give up my stand-up.
Really.
Yeah, I mean, and I was really good friends with Jay Leno, and he used to always say to me, "Don't give up your act, Binder. What are you doing? What are you giving up your act for? Always have your act." And-
Yeah, it's kind of a life preserver. It's like, okay,
Yeah.
you always have, I mean, like, yeah, during the strike, you have it to fall back on. And I mean,
Yeah.
you can do it anywhere.
And I also kind of in my back of my head, I always thought it'd been so long, I won't be good at it again.
It comes back, I bet.
It came back pretty quick, and plus taking all that time off, I had a different take on it. But I do think you're right. I think that immediacy, and
Yeah.
you write a
There's
script,
something
it
quite
takes a
like
year to find out if it's any good.
I know. I wrote another short film that I really want to do, and it's taking me like a year to do because there's so many. I know I have very bad ADHD, and it's like to focus on all the steps that lead up to the making of it. It's like so many steps, and I get overwhelmed. Whereas writing a joke, you're like 2 steps: write the joke, try the joke. Those are the 2 steps. It's not
That's
like
right.
find someone to produce it and then find the location and the blah, blah, blah.
Well, and I also find, I don't know if you feel this way, at least this version of me as a stand-up, I only like doing it when I have new material. If I go out and I don't have something to try out,
Yeah.
even like 3 nights in a row, and I'm doing just the same stuff, it's really it's not
It's
fun.
painful. It's painful for me if I don't have. I have a rule that I have to have at least one new joke. I mean, I've bombed for like an hour before just because I'm like, I can't do any of my old jokes. I can't right now.
Yeah.
Because it starts to become painful. But then that feeling when you do get a new joke and it works is like there's no other feeling like it.
Yeah. Yeah. And I've said this a lot, but I think the newer generation is much more able to reinvent their hours than they were when I was working, you know? It was
What
a
do you
new
mean? What do you mean reinvent it? Or do you mean write a new one? Create
yeah,
a new
write a new one.
Okay.
You know, it's you know, there was this great thing, you know, I think it was Roger Bannister was the first guy that broke the 4-minute mile runner. And
Okay.
no one could run a 4-minute mile, break a 4-minute mile. But once he did it,
Everybody could do it.
everybody did it. And everybody, comedians, like long before I got into it, they had their nightclub act and they would go on television, but they saved their nightclub act and they added a joke here and there, and they didn't show any, they never messed with their nightclub act because they could go town to town and do it.
Yeah.
And then cable came along, and I remember Jay Leno got a special, and he did it, and he bought it back from them. He didn't want anyone to see it. He realized it was material. And guys like Robert Klein and George Carlin and Richard Pryor and also Lily Tomlin kind of broke the mold. They started doing brand new hours. But they were few and far between. Albert Brooks.
Yeah, now everyone's doing a new hour every year. And it's like, what?
When I can, yes.
Longer though. I can't write a new hour in a year. It's not. I can't do it.
Well, you also write jokes. You're writing jokes that are so finite sometimes. You know?
Sometimes I'm trying to kind of lengthen them a bit. So like I'm trying to do stories. Yeah. But it takes longer to write those for me.
Yeah. But I just think for some reason it just became, because it became part of the process and part of the job, it became easier to think in terms of, okay, I got to write a new hour. And like you said, okay, I put this out, so it's going to come out in 3 months. So in this next 3 months, I better have 20 minutes at least.
Yeah.
Go, you know, people didn't think like that before. And I can just see it. But in this version, for me, I write so much more than I used to.
That's good. Yeah. I had a funny thing I did, like we did a news appearance last night, Greg Fitzsimmons and I, because I'm opening for him at Irvine Improv this Sunday. And they asked, you know, they always ask you questions that you're kind of like, how do I answer? So they said, so Greg had been on Letterman, you know, and he's been doing it for years and years. And they're like, how has comedy changed? But they asked me how comedy's changed. And it just threw me because I thought they were going to ask him. And so I go, I don't know. I wasn't there.
It's really funny.
And then I thought Greg would have something funny to say, and he just like left me hanging. It was so funny.
Real.
Like
I have to tell you, Greg is one of the guys that really made me really get back into stand-up.
Oh, really? I love Greg. He's like one of my favorite people.
Well, yeah, and I'll tell you why. It's a kind of a funny story. I've been around the store working on this documentary for a couple of years, and I was thinking, people kept saying, do you miss it? I don't miss it. I don't miss it. And then there was a roast for Adam Egan, the,
Mm,
the booker. And I think I want to roast him. I love the guy, you know. And I wrote this thing all afternoon, and Greg went up, and he was so funny. He was so good. He was like, he was wonderful. And I
yeah.
followed him, and I went up, and I bombed so bad. Everything that I thought was funny, I had no timing. I just didn't know what I was doing. And you know, in my head, I thought this is going to be genius, but I didn't. I had no sense of it. And I remember thinking, God, this is a guy. He's so well oiled. He's in the game, you know.
Yeah.
And about, I think a month later, Felicia Michaels asked me to be on this belly room show she does called
Yeah, I did that show.
Age
Yeah.
Against the Machine. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I said, yeah, I'll do it. And and then as we got closer, I thought, oh man, I said yes, and I better write something. And I wrote like 15 brand new minutes. And I thought, okay. And it worked because it was all about growing up there as a kid and Mitzi, and it was like heroin, you know.
Yeah.
It was like, you know, but it was so funny. It was really seeing Greg so oiled and so in the game. It was so funny.
It was inspiring. Yeah.
And I mean, he's so good at what he does.
He is so good. I've never seen him not do well. He's always good.
I saw him one night at the Laugh Factory. I was laughing so hard. He was doing these bits about his wife telling him, if you know, all these years on the road, if you had wanted to, if you had wanted to, you could have. And he's going, oh man, why do you tell me this now?
Yeah.
Just
he's so funny. Good. We have a lot in common because we have the same birthday. We both had, well, I grew up in Boston. He spent time in Boston. He went to BU. I went to BU. We have like so many weird things in common. So we connect.
My son went to Emerson. So I spent a lot of time there while he was in college.
I got rejected from Emerson because when I auditioned, I was auditioning for the acting program. And I said, I did my monologue, and then they gave me a direction to do the monologue as this actress. And they told me an actress I had never heard of. I didn't ask, who is that? And I just continued to do the monologue pretty much the exact same way because I had no idea who they were talking about.
Do you remember who it was?
No. I think really it was like some old time actress that I'd never heard of.
And you just didn't want to ask?
I just didn't. I was like, I must like have to know who this is. And so I just pretty much just did the monologue again.
Don't you hate when you don't ask the simple questions?
I know. It would have been so easy to be like, I'm sorry, I don't know who that is. And then I had a similar thing happen with cello. I played cello when I was a cello major in college. And I auditioned for the Royal Academy of Dramatic Arts, like the big London school. And we had to sight read like Brahms Symphony No. 1 or something. And I could not sight read. And so I tried to play a couple notes and then I like stopped and they were like, have you heard Brahms first? And I was like, I guess not. And I remember getting a big laugh in the room. Like that was like my first,
It was, what did your dad do?
He was a clarinetist, and then so my parents met at the New England Music Conservatory, and then he got MS, so he had to change professions because his pinky stopped working, and so then he became a CPA.
Wow!
He was at Ernst & Young, the company
you
there.
Think that would still be a problem, being a CPA with a pinky problem?
Well, I mean, he used his right hand to write, and his right hand was pretty good for a while. It was more like the, like efficiency of notes, like you have to hit the note, but yeah, or typing. I mean, he had to type. So.
Did they want you to kind of do that? Was that their dream for you to kind of follow into that world?
I think my mom really just wanted me to be some kind of performer. And so the only way to rebel was to become a comic, because that's like the lowest form of art. It's like, she's like, that's the other day I talked to her and I was talking about how men always think they're funny when they're not, like men who aren't comics, they always try to be funny and they're not funny. Right. And my mom, like, I think a lot of people wish they had been a comedian, like a lot of people in different fields. And she goes, I have no idea why anyone would ever want to do that.
That's really funny.
I was like, thanks.
It's funny because I grew up in Detroit and my parents were so far from show business. So really? Far.
I feel like you hear that more than people being in showbiz,
I don't know, but I will tell you, when I told my parents I wanted to be a comedian, and I knew at a really young age, but when I was really sure of it, that like at 17, that I was going to leave and go to California, my mother just flat out said to me, I don't understand this. Comedians are all unhappy and they're messed up on drugs, and none of them are successful, even the successful ones. And she was right. She was right in a weird way. And she told her years later, I said, you were just guessing. You didn't know that. It was a really mean thing to say. You happened to be right. But you didn't know that.
Oh man. What did your parents do?
My father was in the building business.
Okay.
And my mother was just a mother. We had a lot of kids, and she was just at the time. And then she had a store, a furniture store, antique store.
Oh, cool.
But but when we were growing up, she just had a bunch of rugrats.
How many kids?
4 boys.
Whoa.
Yeah.
And you're the youngest?
No, I'm the second to oldest.
Okay.
Yeah.
Kid.
Yeah. I just acted the youngest.
Yeah,
But I just think, to me, if I had parents like your parents that were in that world, something so like music and something so, all encompassing, and because I happen to know a little bit about that world because I've had friends in it.
Yeah.
I think once your kids even dabble in it, you want them in it, in a really cool way.
Well, musicians are also very funny. Like I remember that when I also auditioned. I don't know why I'm talking about all my auditions for schools, but it just reminded me of when I auditioned for Juilliard as an actress, and the musicians came out of the rehearsal and they just started making fun of the actors. Like a cellist goes, to be or not to be, and he was really obnoxious, but I thought it was hilarious. And I was like, those are my people. So I thought musicians were my people because they were funny, and actors took themselves too seriously. And I was like, ugh, I don't want to be around these people, talking about their feelings and things like that. So, but it's interesting that I liked musicians because they were funny, and then eventually, became a comedian.
I will tell you, when I got into making movies, one of the best parts, I've just loved scoring it and working with orchestras, and it was so much fun.
Yeah, that's so cool.
So much fun working with that. That was so great to see how they would work, and these people they were so succinct in every way, and so their mode, it was just really wonderful, and they worked so hard, and we were lucky. We worked with like the London Philharmonic, and we worked with so many cool people, And like I say, they took it so seriously.
Yeah, my mom played under John Williams, so I met him when I was a kid,
Wow.
and I thought he was Santa Claus. I was like, "We're meeting Santa," because he looked just like Santa with the beard. And then my mom played on Schindler's List and Saving Private Ryan. She played on the soundtrack.
That's great. That's
So-
the top. That's the top of the food chain in that world.
Yeah, she's pretty good.
Yeah, she must be. Yeah. As soon as you said that, that's what I was thinking.
Yeah, she's a violinist. Yeah.
Yeah, you gotta be. Yeah. I'll tell you, the guy. Do you know who Alexandre Desplat is?
Is that a musician or a composer?
He's a composer. He's won a bunch of Oscars.
Yeah, I think I know of him.
Yeah, he's a French guy, and he did one of my movies, and he even then he wasn't even a big guy then.
Which
But
movie was it?
It was called The Upside of Anger. It was a Kevin Costner, Joan Allen movie, and he got the London Philharmonic, and
Wow.
he was so. Everyone had to be the best at their instruments, you know. Those guys, you know, they just are so picky.
Perfectionist. Yeah, I used to practice 8 hours a day when I was in music school, and you just sit there and you just play things over and over and over again, you know, and it's just like really tedious.
Well, listen, you know, I will say that's the other thing is when I was doing stand-up, and it was just me, because I will say the guys that were really successful worked harder than I did. And that's why I let it go, because I wasn't working that hard on it. I worked hard on scripts and other things.
Yeah.
But when I'm doing it now, and the way that I'm doing it now, and the people that I know that are really successful now, they're working a lot more than 8 hours a day. They're, you know, they are taking it so serious, and they're working at that level.
Yeah.
Especially, you know, when I did that Comedy Store documentary, Neil Brennan said something that really, it just rang the bell for me. He said, if you look at all the biggest names in stand-up, they're without a doubt, they're the people that write the most.
Yeah. I believe that. Yeah.
And you just ticked them all off, and you go, wow, that's so true. Those people write all constantly have new material.
Yeah.
But in today's world, comedians, you know, I worked an hour a day. You know,
yeah.
I worked an hour a day.
I sometimes work an hour a day too.
You know?
If I'm being honest.
But you don't. You're doing podcasts, and you're doing.
Well, that's the thing. It's like everything now feels like work. You know, it's like putting up a clip feels like work, and then booking your flights and figuring out where you're gonna be, and then you know, like all that feels kind of like you're putting in hours, even if it's not writing. But my writing kind of comes in spurts. I'm not one of those people that sits down and like is, you know, I don't have a regime where I'm like, I have to write 5 hours a day. I don't do that.
Well, do you write on stage?
I write more on stage, I think, than I used to. I used to sit at the computer, but now I think I come up with ideas. I write a lot when I'm in LA so that I can try stuff out here. And then on the road, I try to write on stage more.
Yeah.
But yeah.
I don't understand. People say that, but I don't understand the writing on stage. I can ad-lib tags and fine tune, but I have to sit there and think of things. Or
I'll come up with the idea before. I'll say I want to riff on this idea, and then I keep riffing on it until I find the punchlines on stage. Because I think there's like a different side of your brain that works on stage that's actually more creative and knows something that you don't know when you're sitting there and like trying to plan it. And like sometimes you stumble into things in a more creative way in the moment when you're like, your brain doesn't know where to go. And then it goes somewhere you didn't even expect. And that's, to me, those are my favorite moments when I write a punchline that even I didn't see coming.
That's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And you do get that on stage because you're you're kind of like it's like walking out at the end of a plank on a pirate ship or something.
Yeah, and you're like, I don't know where this is going, and they don't either. And that's kind of fun when you both don't know.
Yeah, that's right. And I also, by the way, you have this joke that I just love. I always tell people about your joke about when the Harvey Weinstein thing happened and your parents. Yeah. I knew that you didn't do any. We knew you didn't mess around with him because your career would have been gone much better.
Yeah.
That's a great joke.
She really did say that.
She really did.
She did, yeah.
That's really funny.
I'll give my mom credit for that one.
Yeah. What was the thing that your parents saw you do that finally said, okay, we get it?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, my mom has always been pretty supportive, actually, but like the first time she saw me perform was in Cambridge. Do you know that that Chinese restaurant in Boston where Rick
The Ding Ho? The Ding Ho?
Well, it used to be called that, but then it changed to the
Comedy Studio.
Comedy Studio. Yeah, but it started there.
Was that the Ding Ho, Patrick?
I don't believe so. I think the Ding Ho ended, yeah, and then Rick Jenkins started the Comedy Studio.
Rick Jenkins started the studio, and then he changed locations. But anyway, that was the first time my mom saw me perform, and she was like, "Honey, that was wonderful. You looked so comfortable up there. You look like you were having so much fun." And then she said, and this ended up being a joke, but she's like, if there was one thing that I could change, just one tiny little thing, if there was a gun to my head and I had to change just like a tiny, tiny little thing, it would be the material.
Oh my God. She really said that?
Your mom sounds like a character.
Yeah, she is.
Hysterical. That's so funny. The one tiny little thing is everything.
If there was a gun to my head and I just had to change, I was like, that would be like you playing violin and me being like, if there was one thing I had to change, it would just be the notes. It would just be the notes that you played.
That's amazing. That's so funny.
But now she's been pretty supportive. Yeah, I think, she loves Sad Lemon. She agreed about that. And she always gave me notes like when I started, but no, she's always been pretty supportive, and she tries to quote my jokes and does a terrible job with that. She'll be like, I told my friend the joke about the tattoo. And then I'm like, how did you say it? And she adds 20 lines to it.
The first time my mother ever saw me do stand-up, I was playing a little club in Detroit.
Uh-oh.
First of all, she sat in the front row.
Oh no!
Which I don't. Her and her friend sat in the front row. Which I was like later. Go, what were you doing in the front row?
Why?
I demanded the best seat in the house. I said I'm his mother, and she just.
Wait, are you Jewish? Is she Jewish?
Yes,
yeah. Okay. It's like that makes sense. I'm the mother. What?
She said, I wanted you to be proud of. I want to, know I'm proud of you. So she sat in the front row, and she answered about half of my jokes with, "That didn't happen. That's come on." Oh, thinking that she was helping the show.
Oh my God, that's hilarious! Being heckled by your mother.
That was unbelievable. Well, she didn't see it as heckling.
Oh yeah, of course not. She was helping.
So the heckling is yelling out.
Right. Yeah.
I was talking to you.
When I opened for Doug Stanhope a couple years ago, he knew my mom was in the audience, and she was up in the balcony, and he starts talking to her directly and has an entire conversation with her, and she just has all these answers, and I forget what he asked her, but he just kept talking, and then I thought she would come back and meet him, and then she just left, and I was like, why aren't you gonna meet him? He spent 10 minutes talking to you. She's like, I was with my friends, they needed to leave, and I was like, okay.
Did they not like his act?
No, I think they were big fans. I think they loved it. My mom loves him.
I think he's great.
Oh, he's like, I think he's one of the best. I love
Yeah.
him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
he's amazing.
Yeah.
And it's so funny. You just never know with parents what they want.
Yeah, they're just unpredictable.
I have to tell you, man. And now I'm in the same place. My son just had his first movie, and it came out, and it's he just won Best Independent Film at the LA Film Festival.
What's
It's
the
called
film?
Halfway to Amarillo. And it's
Wow.
really good and really funny, and
That's
like,
amazing.
yeah, and but I go to the screenings with him, and I'm going to Austin. He's in the film festival there, and but I just watch it, and I'm just so proud, and and then
Yeah.
he has got to go up and talk afterwards, and I just want to I'll want to go ask more questions, take more
Yeah.
questions, because he's like he writes and directs the movie, and he's got a lead role in it. And then he walks up there shy, like, you're not shy, knock it off.
Oh my God, yeah.
But I want to, hey, tell him, spend some more time up there. This is your moment. Go.
Yeah, yeah.
But I just,
What's his name?
His name is Bert Binder.
Bert Binder?
Yeah, he's super talented. He really is. He had a whole nother movie. He's all ready to go for the strike, but he's just he's just good at what he does. And I'll tell you, I did not want him to do this. When he told me that he wanted to be an actor, my heart sank, because it's hard. But then I saw him work, and I went, oh, wow, he's good. He's good, But he grew up on sets, and he understood it.
Yeah.
And then I saw a few of these little things that he made, and I thought, oh, wow, okay, he's good. And I just listen. It's a hard business, but but being a parent of a performer is a really weird thing,
Very hard, yeah. I remember one of the first times I ever got up in New York. I was staying with Jenny's, my aunt, and Garrison. And I bombed hard, so hard, because it was my first time ever performing in New York. I'd only been doing stand-up a couple of years. It was one of the harder clubs. It wasn't, one of the main clubs. It was one of those like tourist type clubs. And I just remember it was just crickets the whole set. And I came back and Garrison was like, how'd it go? And I was like, bad. I was like, horrible. I'm humiliated. It was awful. And he goes, well, go to bed and do it again tomorrow.
That's great.
I was like, that was great advice, Well, go to bed, get up and do it again tomorrow.
And were you thinking about quitting? Would you never would?
No, I mean, it was weird because a year in, my manager at the time was Bruce Smith at Omnipop, who, represents like Maria Bamford and Andy Kindler and all those people. And he's kind of one of the people that encouraged me to try stand up. And when I started, I kind of wanted to just do it because I thought I'd be scared of it and I wanted to face a fear I had. And then I didn't expect to keep doing it. And then I kept doing it and I was pretty bad for like a year, really quite bad. And the only time I started getting laughs is when I admitted how bad it was going, when I would comment about how bad it was going. Right. And then at one point I said, maybe this isn't my thing. Like, maybe I shouldn't be doing this. And he's like, it's too soon to tell. You just don't know yet. So then I did it another year and started to actually kind of get my rhythm. And I got out of that actor presentational thing I was doing, which was like, here are my jokes, and then finally started to get the hang of it. But I was bad for a while. I was bad for 2 years, pretty bad.
It takes a long time to be really great. I don't think there's any shortcuts to that, No,
I don't think so either. Even now, I mean, I've been doing it 10 years and I still feel like a lot of the time I still feel like I don't know what I'm doing,
Yeah.
So
I honestly, I hate to say this. I think it takes 20 years.
I think so too. Well, I think people have been saying that to me for 10 years and I'm like, okay, so I'm halfway there. But I think that's true because just the rhythm and your own voice and being comfortable and not feeling like you're performing, I still feel like I'm performing sometimes and I hate that feeling.
I will tell you, one of the things that helped me get back into it, I was opening for Friends, middling for Friends.
Yeah.
Because I didn't really want to just play the Comedy Store and the Improv, and so I'd go to the improvs like with Damon Wayans and Jeff Ross and Jeremy Piven,
Yeah.
And Jeremy Piven is an actor who's just started doing stand-up, and he's only been doing it 5 years.
Yeah.
And he's really good. And he's the only guy, over all the years I've been watching and doing stand-up, I've seen so many actors try to get into it.
Mm.
Never seen anyone get that good in 5 years. And I don't know how he did it, but I think a lot of it is just because he started so young as an actor, and I think maybe that's probably what happened with you. You just been performing so young, and you just knew. So it might have just been in your blood. So you just had to figure out how maybe not to perform as much. That's what he said,
Yeah, you have to you have to be less self-conscious, I think.
Yeah.
As a stand-up. You have to be more just there and present.
Especially today. I think right now, this is like an age of authenticity.
That's true. That is true, which is actually kind of nice, because in that way, I think it is a good time for me, because I like to write in a weird kind of way, without such a formulaic, setup punchline kind of way. Like sometimes I ease into just a bit, and I'm not so punch, which is harder in New York. Like when I go to New York, I have a harder time. But in LA, I feel like they allow for more experimentation like that,
Yeah. No, I love your style. I love your style because it's like you kind of like say to the audience, just come on to my speed. Just come to my speed, because that's where we're working tonight.
Yeah.
And I think that's what you got to get. That's what Mark Maron does really well.
True. I've always admired how he does that, where he's just he's so effortless, Like, that's what I really want to get to, where it doesn't feel like work.
I will tell you, that's a guy that took a lot. He's become a great comedian. And even though I didn't know, the few times I would go to the store or something or see him, he was nowhere near as good as he is now. He really has grown.
I feel like people are as good as they're willing to be bad.
Right. That's right.
Like if you're willing to be really bad, you'll eventually find something interesting. Whereas if you need to kill, you'll never get to a place that feels very real and kind of scary.
Absolutely. And it's funny you say that, because the two best comics that I can think of, or two of the best, are Richard Pryor and Bill Burr. And both of those there are two comics that could just go on stage and they're okay with silence.
Yeah.
They're okay with bits not working if they're working stuff out.
I really wish I could see early Bill Burr, because it's like, I know that he's worked very hard to get where he is, and I would love to just watch him not have a good set, because I can't imagine it now.
But I don't think it's early Bill Burr. I think it's now in between specials. I think he just goes up at clubs.
That's
with
true.
New ideas, and he's okay if he's working out a bit. I think he does work in that spirit of Pryor.
That's true.
He really goes out there and on the thin ice.
That's true.
I know what Erica's saying, though. I think you're talking about you just want to see him find his footing as a comic. You know what I mean? Like
I've seen some early clips of his, but I haven't really seen him in like an awkward phase where it's like he doesn't know what he's doing at all.
He's not funny with a lot of hair. It didn't work till he shaved everything.
That's the secret.
That's the secret. Listen, I've taken up enough of your time. But I have to tell you, I'm such a big fan of yours, and even talking to you, I just really think you're great, and I know you're gonna do great. I can't wait to hear Ladybug. And
I can't wait to hear men have to say that word Ladybug.
No, we say it. We say it all the time. Actually, we just said that lady bugs is what we said.
Ladybugger.
Well, we say we that's a different one, but over in England we say that lady bugger. But
Ladybugger.
no, I actually think it's a really good title for an album.
Thanks. Yeah, I'm excited about it.
Yeah, I wish you the best, and
I hope we get to do a show at some point together.
well, we'll do it. We'll do it.
Okay.
You should come to do one of the shows at the Hollywood Roosevelt.
Are you doing shows there?
Yeah.
Okay, I just was there last week.
Oh, with Jimmy Shin?
No, with Josh, best the well-dressed show.
Oh, I don't know. Jimmy Shin does a lot of shows there.
Okay.
But we'll do one. We'll do one.
Okay.
It's really great talking to you.
Yeah, you too, Mike. Yeah. And I'll have to check out all your films too. Tell me which one to start with. Should I start with Comedy Store?
Well, that's a documentary. Watch The Upside of Anger.
Okay. I feel like I've seen that, but I'll watch it.
My favorite.
Okay, I'll watch it again.
Well, yeah. Okay.
Okay, nice to meet you, Patrick.
Thanks, Erica.
Boy, she's great. Isn't she great?
She was awesome.
Yeah, she's very special. And I really am looking forward to Ladybug. Yeah, it's gonna be great. And she's a great joke writer. If you haven't had a chance to see Sad Lemon, you should really watch it. She's so talented. But that's it, Got a great guest next week. Right? Not gonna spoil the surprise, but this Wednesday down in La Jolla, I'll be at the Comedy Store in La Jolla. So if you're down there, come on down. And September 29th in Detroit, I'll be opening for this crazy bastard, the legend Jeffrey Ross.
Where's he playing in Detroit?
Andiamo. So, and I'm going in to open for him and have some fun. He's amazing. Live, that guy puts on an amazing show. And I'm just kind of going in, riding his coattails once again, as I have done many, many times. But I just have fun hanging with him. So that's it. That's what I got coming up. Nothing much more. Just waiting for this damn strike to end so I can go back to work, being out of work. And that's it. I'm going to be down in Austin for my son, who has his movie there. He's opening at the film festival halfway to Amarillo, and get some good stuff. It's all good. We have some great guests coming up, right?
Definitely. Really good guests.
So thank you so much. Episode 28. Check us out on standupworld.com for all the links on X and Apple and Spotify. And on Apple, please rate us and comment and kicks us up the ladder. We really appreciate all the support we've been getting. Every week we grow a little bit, and it's really been great. So thank you so much. And also, I just want to say, please take the time and sign up for the newsletter at standupworld.com. You get a free copy of my book, Stand Up World, and you get the newsletter every week. It's really, people seem to like it. That grows too.
Great read.
It's fun. And that's it. Have a great week. Episode 38. It's out.